Hey, everybody, welcome to the Roofer's Den. My guest today needs no introduction. I got John Sherwood able to talk to us today to talk about everything roofing, the industry, the trends, and how you can improve and grow your business. Stay tuned for this one. Congratulations. I really appreciate taking the time to be here today, man. So for those of you who may not know you, can you give a little background on who you are and kind of how you came to be in the industry?
Sure. I've been in the industry now for about 13 years. I originally started in the Denver market. In that market, I had formed a company called G2 Roofing and Construction with a partner. And I built that company, branded that company. And I was at a place where I was like, okay, I'm either going to need to stick another $500,000 in it to grow to the next mark and take it to predominantly commercial, or I could offload it and find something else to do. So I ended up in September 2016 selling that company to the regional operations manager, John Mansville, Robert Marshall. So that was a good move for myself and my partner. In the meantime, I was going back and forth between Denver and Dallas because I was attacking that commercial market. And there's obviously a lot more commercial opportunities in Dallas because it's 3.5, 4 times the size of Colorado. And there's a lot more low slope opportunity there. And obviously everybody knows me as a chemical restoration guy with the foam and the fluids. So I took a position there as a VP with a company that wasn't doing much roofing, but had a commercial presence, blew them up to number 15, the top 150 roofing companies, and then took a president's position and then realized that, I'd outgrown that company, put my stamp on it, gave them my blessing and said, okay, let's just kind of brand myself. In branding myself, I've come across some consultant agreements and grown commercial divisions for some of the large residential operations, like last year for Priority Roofing, talking to some of the other ones right now, which I can't disclose due to NDA. And then was really branding myself. What happened branding myself is it was actually when the storm 3 years ago, and I went specifically to hear and see Gary Vee. Gary Vee stands up there and he talks about documenting what you do and giving away what you do, the value at absolutely no cost. And he had something that really resonated with me. He said, there's one man in here or one woman in here that's going to hear what I'm saying and actually apply this to their business and really stay consistent with it. So I feel I was that one individual. Maybe there was one or two more, but I went in it all in. Videographer, media team, didn't even have a Facebook until then, and just went all I could do in it. But the thing that I liked about it is I generally have a heart and a passion for the roof industry. And that's when Roofers Helping Roofers developed. I ended up getting the honor and the privilege to be on the board for Roofers in Recovery, and just doing what I love ended up turning into its own brand. So now we have Roofers Helping Roofers, which is national. I do independent consulting, workshops. I'll go out there in the field, put on other contractors' shirts, represent them, help them procure contracts, and then do complete turnkey commercial installation or restoration for them. Then the other side of the spectrum, I'll have some of the titans in the industry, maybe like a Northwest and a Paul Reed or a Triangle DJ Contractors or a Select Construction, who don't need me to teach them. They have it dialed in, they're doing large numbers, and they're just looking for turn and burn, very aggressive turnkey solutions on my niche being the foam and fluids, and I knock those out. So I have clients on both sides of the spectrum, and during all that, some keynote speaking and different workshops and classes like I was talking about, and that developed into Roofers Helping Roofers. And then I independent when it comes to foam and fluid on a national level. Plus I work with subcontractors, because dragging the rigs and the equipment around the United States, depending on how many miles away it is, can be, pretty detrimental on our equipment. So this requires partnerships. But my whole life and career is based off of celebrating other people's wins.
That's awesome, man. One thing I appreciate about you, man, is that there are some influencers out there, whether it be in the roofing industry or others, they've never walked the walk. One thing I like about you, man, is you've been there. You've done the roofing industry. You've been on the roofs. When you watch John's content, everybody, you're going to see him up there on the roofs himself. This is not done from an office somewhere, not on the ground floor. This is a man who gets out there and gets his hands dirty actually doing it. I want to talk about your success over, though, the past couple of years. Do you find that for yourself that there's been some stress that goes with that added exposure, that, people are following you now and looking to you for advice and the things that you say? How do you deal with that right now? Because there might be somebody dealing with it out there. Maybe their company is taken a big leap in the last 6 months in a positive way, and they're dealing with some success that maybe they haven't dealt with before. Can you give some pointers into maybe some of the things you've been able to do to keep yourself grounded?
Yeah. So, entrepreneurs, whether we're roofing in the roofing industry or not in the roofing industry, we're still entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs that are successful tend to fail their way to success. So the first thing we have to remember is I'm where I'm at because I paid so much dumb tax that I get it now. And now because I paid that dumb tax and I can make sure that every time I go to speak or I talk to other companies or do workshops, I'm not doing it for me. I'm not that important. My pride and ego may try to get in the way, but I'm just not that important. I'm doing it for them. And the thing that I've learned about the entrepreneur is the entrepreneur finds out what is working quickly. Well, the only way to find out what's working quickly is to try things, find out what works, and implement them. In that, trying different things, what works for one man might not work for another man's business, so there'll be failure in it, and that's how you fail your way to success, trying what's going on. So, my tip to them is, depending on what they are in the industry, if you have eyes on you and people are watching you, watching your videos, listening to you speak, we're men, we're women, our pride and our ego, it's going to get in there. You have to remind yourself, this isn't for you. You're not up there because you're just so important. You're up there because you were successful in what you're doing and people want to know how you got there. And unless you have a heart and a passion to help them, you have no business being up there, in my opinion. And then from another standpoint, when they start to do well financially and they're starting to touch numbers that they've never seen before, then what they have to do is they have to make sure that they're running their business sustainably. And sustainably being like, if you were to taste liability on some commercial project, you're just getting into it, can you handle that liability? The people that you're bringing on to scale, can you afford to pay that 12 months out of the year? Is it going to be sustainable? So they're making sustainable business decisions. And as they're touching those resources, the business comes first. There's no better investment than investing back in your business 100%. Than there is anything else. And you keep the business moving, and then it's always going to come first.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more about, investing in the business. But one thing I wanted to get your opinion about is, kind of a trend in the industry and marketing. I think, if you would rewind 10 years ago, you had things like SEO and paid advertising that, in my opinion, were very important. And they continue to be important today. But I also believe now more than ever, people appreciate genuine individuals. They appreciate organically people that are out there doing it. And people who actually give a shit. And they show that with who they are day in, day out, with their clients, with the people they interact with. I think people can now smell a little bit of the BS, if you want to look at it that way. And they gravitate towards more of that organic. Let me get to know somebody over time. Let me follow this individual because I identify with who they are. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I feel that our industry is in almost a groaning stage. And I feel like it's looking for leaders of what is right and not followers of what is wrong. Here we have this industry that people outside the industry don't have any idea how much resources and money is actually involved. And you give these guys money, and we're known for addiction, we're known for domestic violence, we're known for fraudulent things. But the reality of it is we have some amazing people in this industry. I've met some of my closest friends, closest mentors in this actual industry, and there's great people. And when I've seen tragedy happen, I've seen this industry come together and do remarkable things. So what I think is, as these leaders begin to rise up, people are looking for that. And they're going to start following this remnant of people that are doing things that they do the appropriate way. The plus side of that is everything comes from the head down. So as these leaders tend to walk out what people are wanting to see, those that are doing other things may tend to follow that trend. And I see a time where this industry is going to take a little bit different on how people perceive it. And it's going to be a better industry overall, from the conferences to the content to everything that's going on. There's going to be stuff going on that's in anything, but roofing contracting for the most part has had kind of a bad rap for a long time. And that's not necessarily the case. That's just the things that people focus on. You know how it goes. You do something great, one or two people know. You do something bad, everybody freaking knows. It's no different with anything else. But people are looking for genuineness. The other thing that people are looking for is they're looking for people that they feel truly want to help them. They're looking for people in the authenticity that they're saying, hey, this guy's doing it because he really wants to help me and he's giving me value. And when I try the things that he tells me to do, I see return on my time, which is an investment. Time is money. So people are looking for stuff they grab hold to that they can see in a quick, minute and a half, 2 minutes, apply it to their daily business and see results start to happen directly after doing that.
I couldn't agree more. And I had a sales rep the other day to kind of tell you a story. And he said, I've been working this deal. I've been doing all this stuff for this person. I did some market research for them, and they still haven't gone with me. And I said, well, you're doing something with an expectation of getting something in return. That's not giving to anybody. You're trying to indebt that person to you so that you get what you want. There's a big difference between giving without expecting. And Gary Vee speaks about this verse. Let me do this for you. So now that you feel like you have to do something for me, which I think is a lot of it that what's out there. But I want to kind of flip the page a little bit to something that you mentioned. And I hope I know we didn't talk about this before, but I had my battles with Coke, a lot of cocaine usage in my past. And it was something that I really struggled with. And I want to take an opportunity to once again tell the roofers out there, it is something. Drugs have been a part of the industry, and you're not alone. I think there are groups out there, and Jonathan, maybe you can kind of speak to it if you're aware of any, that are there to help individuals. And it's crazy to me. You talk about being genuine, John. The main video, the video I've put out there that has gotten the most views and comments is with my struggle with addiction. And I think it's because so many people out there can relate to something like that, especially in this industry. And it's kind of the elephant in the room that unfortunately doesn't get talked about. But I believe that as good people, we need to step up and start to help one another.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about where folks in the industry can go for relief or recovery or for help. And, what I always say, it's one of my favorite parts in recovery is it says each day recovery begins when one alcoholic addict shares experience, hope, and strength with another alcoholic addict. And it is so true because nobody's going to relate with you unless somebody that's actually been through it, and then a connection is formed. What you do with that connection comes into what you put in with the work. So we have a program called Roofers in Recovery. The president and the vice president is Paul and Kim Reed. And then we have two others on the board. It's Eric Obrent with D&M Roofing, and then myself. That program was completely formed to do a few things. One, to vet individuals that are truly in need of rehab, but don't have the finances in order to go, and to do sponsorships and pay for their rehab, and then get them into a program after that to work the steps and get them recovered. Two, we have a Roofers in Recovery meeting every Tuesday night on Zoom at 8 Mountain Standard Time. You can go to the Roofers in Recovery Facebook page. We will not accept anyone unless they answer the questions. There's like 2 simple questions. Do you want to get sober? How long have you been sober? We got people that aren't sober, and we got people been sober for 30 years, but you got to answer the 2 questions or we don't allow it in the page. Then you'll get the Zoom invite every single Tuesday. You can go on Zoom. We usually have anywhere between 15 to 25 people in the industry, men and women in there. We've seen guys that have got in there with us from the beginning or still sober at that time. So we're seeing a lot of really cool stuff. The other thing that we do is we will give resources or funds to different things. Unfortunately, we had a tragedy just last weekend, and we had a young man who was sober and in a sober living house and working the program that everybody had a heart for in the industry. And, from what I've seen over all the phone calls I've been involved in, he just left his mark by being a positive effect on everybody's life that he touched. And we are donating some money towards funeral expenses and to his family through a GoFundMe. So, we can be financial support, we can be eating need, we can help them line up sponsors, and we can get people in rehab. So there's a lot of different things that we offer there with the Roofers in Recovery.
So let me make this pledge to you then right now, John. My Claims Care, my company, could we sponsor? Could we get involved? And how do we make that happen? Do I just need to contact you directly? Able to DM you? Because I'll make the commitment to you right now. We'll get involved to help some individuals within that group.
And we'll talk about that, and I'll get you lined up with Paul and myself, and we'll show you what there are as far as opportunities. And there's always room to help.
Man, we'll do it. We're in on my end, so I'll tell you that right now. Let me flip it over to some of you travel across the country. You meet with different roofing contractors from coast to coast. I've seen you make some of your keynote speaking. Can you talk about some of the struggles that you're seeing from contractors across the country? Is there something that sticks out in your mind, and some advice you may have for them to overcome what they may be experiencing out there. Some questions maybe a repeated question you continue to get during your travels.
Yeah, so I get a couple questions everywhere that I go, and one of them is, how do I get into commercial roofing and how do I create the opportunities? I think everywhere I go, whether it's a Zoom, a phone call, I'm stepping off the stage, somebody pulls me off. Hey, how do I create these opportunities? How do I get started? So here's what I found, and this is just my experience, what I tend to be the easiest way to get into commercial. So one, you can't just go from residential and then start doing 200,000 square foot roofs. It takes a little liability. It could put you out of business if you're not a company that's up to that capacity. And it doesn't work the same as the residential. So guys that have these large roof systems like what you see me do, they don't sign over an AOB, AOC and let you take a claim. That's not how it works. They have PAs on staff, people they know. They buy those buildings to make money off of them, especially like in some of the number one collaborative states. Colorado, Texas, or Kansas, Oklahoma. They wait for that hail to make money off that building. They'll have a PA come in, and then they're going to look for a gentleman like myself and give them an aggressive retail price within market rate, and then turn that for them very quickly. So you're not getting that huge profit margin that you're used to when you're pencil whipping residential roofs. Mm-hmm. So I tell them to do what's going to be easy way to transition, because most of our company is insurance claim restoration. So I try to keep it on that path of what they're used to. Yep. So what I'll tell them is look for owner-occupied small businesses and small standalone churches. Here's why. They tend to be 70 to 150, 200 squares. The decision maker is usually on site. It may be a dental practice, chiropractic practice, laundromat, dry cleaners, or church. You can meet with the decision maker. It's their baby. They want everything done. They'll usually let you take the claim, and you can facilitate it like a residential. And then what you can do once you're actually facilitating that deal is you can learn your craft, because one of the things that I stand by is know your craft. Well, the best way to know your craft is to spend time on your jobs. I don't care what position you are within the organization, be there for the entire project, TPO, foam, fluid, whatever it may be. So you're learning your craft, maybe even spend some time on the installation or application aspect of it as well. That way you can become more dangerous. So that's what I say. Smaller businesses, you'll get the claim, and because you're getting the claim, you're going to get it could be 70 squares, but you're getting a 40% margin on it, and it's been supplemented, and you're doing it appropriately. It could be a great rip. For a guy like me, if I get 3 claims a year, that's huge. I got 1 last year, but if I'm dealing with stuff on average, my average unit is 75,000 to 100,000 square foot, up to 1 million square feet. Awesome. I got 1 million square foot job going on now. I obviously didn't get the claim for that. It's very, very minimal. If you saw what I made off of it, I could have made more money on 100,000 square foot job than I could on, some working for some giant contractor, labor only somewhere doing that. So they'll make good money. They'll get their feet wet. And if something were to happen, it's not going to put them out of business. It's a 70 square roof. They could buy the roof if they needed to. So one of the best ways is to target those type. And you can target them by having business development or using yourself and going in there. Other things is obviously telemarketing leads. Now, telemarketing leads is going to come down to when you purchase them and where you purchase them. They're going to be fresh after hail, target those smaller buildings, and you're going to be jumping roofs. If it's dry in the air and you're going out there, you're going to be going on a lot of commercial repairs. Now, with that being said, you get into what I call hurry up and wait. Never sleep on commercial repairs. A lot of people won't do them. You can do the commercial repairs. In fact, you can build a commercial repair division, which can be very lucrative for you because you can charge a higher price point for repairs and keep them moving. Or I like to use repairs as marketing dollars. Here's a great example. I was working on a project at SMU University over in Dallas, Texas. They had a chimney cap that fell down. I really wanted all the roofs. They weren't damaged yet, but I knew they were going to be damaged because it's a hail state. I went over there and boomed it up, put it on there. And then when they went to ask me for the invoice, I said, that one's on me. I just want to be your vendor. The next year, I did the whole complex. I gave them the bid, everything out. I ended up roofing all the roofs, 3 layers with wood shake, multiple buildings. So it ended up turning, like a $500,000 deal out of I think the chimney stack was going to cost me $1,700. So you can use it to make profit. You can use it as marketing dollars. You can use it to get your foot in the door. Other things that you can do. Property management companies. Everybody wants property management companies.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing with property management companies. You got to really be ready to pay your dues. So property management companies or AAGD or BOMA or different things where they all come organized and where their conferences are at, you need to get on those boards. And you need to go to single thing, whether it's conferences, online conferences, go to all their golf tournaments. You can't just pick one or two things. They have to see your face every time there's a networking event, every time they have a golf tournament, every time they have a conference, virtual or whether it's in person. You got to be pushing money in there. So this takes dollars to spend. And then when they see you all the time, they become a raving fan of you, and you have the raving fan culture with your client, and then they use you for everything. So that's another way that you can do it.
I want to piggyback off that right there. I used to work with the HOAs and condos, and my advice would always be, don't be afraid to step in their office to drop something off, like some, I know it might sound cheesy, but drop off some cookies, put your face in front of these individuals. What we used to do was a lunch and learn. Say, listen, I want to buy lunch for all your PMs, bring them in here. Let's talk about what we do. I'll answer some questions about roofing. And that way, what's going on. When the storm does hit, you've got us in your corner. Put in your dues before the storm hits, and you're going to be the call that they make. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And here's a simple tip for everybody that's watching this, and it costs you virtually nothing, and it keeps you in the door. Again, it comes down to consistency. Nobody wants you to walk in the door and try to sell them some shit, right? Right. Everybody wants to walk in and here's your stuff and here's your this, and I'm going to try to sell you, let me be your roofer. That's not how you procure clients. Here's how you procure clients. You procure clients without spending a lot of money. Go to the dollar store, buy a whole bunch of containers. Go to Costco, buy a shit ton of candy. Containers, decorate them, put your business development card on there, and put a little note on it that says, when this gets empty, call me to refill. Target all the property manager, all the insurance companies in the areas you want to go to. Send your business development out there. Have them don't sell anything. They walk in, hey, I'm not here to sell anything, just dropping off candies. We get ready to start this new quarter. When this gets low, call me. I'm going to come and fill it up. And the first time, just go in there and do that. Nothing. Don't sell anything. Then put them on a schedule. Wait a couple of weeks. Whether they call you or not, go by and fill it up. Don't sell them anything on that second trip. And as you send it, by the time you get to that second, third, fourth trip, they're going to engage in conversation with you because you just gave them something without asking for anything, and you did what you said you were going to do. And you are getting clients in that manner.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. We're talking about commercial, and we haven't even talked. I don't know if I run a company called My Claims Care, John. And so we saw a need in the industry. We're doing collections beforehand, working with roofing contractors and all of their difficult files. Okay. And what we found is a lot of it had to do with insurance claims. So what we do now in My Claims Care is I pay insurance contractors when they finish the roof. And then I chase down all the endorsements. I chase down the checks on the back end. I chase down the supplement checks. I do all of that stuff so that they can essentially just put on a roof and get paid for it. And so what we saw is that, you had these individuals that were trying to grow their business from 10 to 20 roofs a month. But because they were waiting on depreciation checks and endorsements to come back, they couldn't scale because they had their hard cost and they were having difficulty controlling their AR. And we came at that from a collection standpoint. Just seeing people that were chasing their own tail, for lack of a better word. So what we said is, hey, let's turn insurance into retail, get you paid for it right away, get your sales rep paid right away, and you don't have to have any cash flow issues now. We can just put roofs on like crazy and you can dominate the competition. And that's kind of where I went from roofing to collections and then now into My Claims Care, just based on the need that we saw with our customers. And I think that's important to identify, where's the need in the industry. If you're a roofing contractor, is it commercial for you? Is it residential? What is your need in the industry right now?
So for me, my need, man, that's a great question, man, and a loaded question. I have all kinds of needs. I would say my predominant need at this specific moment is I've been scaling the Roofers Helping Roofers program because it's been so successful. So in that, I'm trying to develop something where people can get the value without me even being present. So I'm developing some master classes. We're working on commercial roofing academy because everybody wants commercial and everybody wants Roofers Helping Roofers. I want a program that I see successful. So not to dive too much into it because I have partners in it, but we're looking to develop a program where people can come in, they can pay a tuition. They'll have some of the biggest hitters in the industry teach them for a day. They'll leave with a few leads. We can help them with them leads to procure it. We can help them with the installation of that and really get them rolling in the commercial, but not just send them out the door and say, okay, you paid XYZ and now you know what you need to know. To actually follow through and work with them through the program itself and then have each industry expert in that field, single ply, claims, foam and fluid, work with them directly, and then have a guy that knows about a lot about everything just on call that they can call at any point in time with additional questions in the field for the tuition as well.
I think it's a great idea, because I think it's important that I'm not going to say you stay in your lane, but you know what you're good at. All right. If you're great at doing something, then stick to doing what you're great at. And if you're not great at it, then find an expert like on a team like yours, John, who can teach you how to be great at it. I see a lot of roofing contractors. A mistake that I see them make is there are any number of people on Instagram, Facebook, all these social media platforms that will take your money and they'll say, for $2,000, I'm going to turn your company around online. And, I see, unfortunately, these roofers who are making maybe $1 to $3 million a year, and they want to turn that around and go, okay, I'm just going to give this guy my money and he's going to turn it around for me. It's not the way to do things. You need to get involved with a group like yours where you have experts in the industry that can garner long-term success for your company. And I think that's what you guys are trying to accomplish, which I think is amazing, is, okay, how are we going to build your company, not just this year, but how are we going to scale it for the next 5 years?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's what we wanted to do. We want to build something with, like you said before, that people can trust us. Mm-hmm. And that we can see it through. So it's not just hey, you pay the money and now you're going to be an expert in the commercial, because the reality of it with the commercial is it's not going to come quick. It is a hurry up and wait type of thing. So we want something where if they're going to make an investment, the investment just isn't for the initial 1, 2, 3 days of tuition training in the actual academy. It's for the entire year. Yeah. It's for the entire year to help them procure contracts, make a decision, staff the company, talk to industry experts, have us out there on roofs with them, show them how we collect data, show them how we build proposals, show them how we close. And then once you've done all that, we still got to build the roof. We got to build the roof as far as getting it done correctly. We got to make sure that's got correct project management. We got to make sure that there's, pre and post job surveys. So we want to walk them through the entire thing, from A to Z.
So I want to kind of turn that into 2021 here. Obviously towards the beginning of the year, you saw out there from coast to coast, it was a difficult year for some contractors.
Yeah.
And one of the words that keeps on coming to my mind is resilience and bouncing back this year, because some people have had some downtime. You've talked with these people out there. You've been on the roofs with them. Okay. What do you say to that guy in Indiana, Nebraska? He was doing 2.9. Now he's doing 1.8 in 2020. He had a rough year. How does he turn that around mentally and just from a process and production standpoint? I know it's not as easy as a couple paragraphs, but can you give him a starting space to start from?
If I've had those phone calls, and this is just for my opinion, and I say things along these lines. Your life is bigger than this moment. It's bigger than this circumstance. You can't allow what's going on this very moment to define you. You can't get into the whole who's the president, what's the economy going to do? Yes, that shit affects us, but you have to keep on working. You have to persevere. You have to do it. And then I'll tell them, okay, let's just look at it. Regardless of who you wanted in office, they're printing money, right? They're printing money and they're about to just pump a bunch of money in the United States. Figure out a way to get some. Precious metals, Bitcoin, CapEx projects. Figure out a way to get some. There's always a way to get some. Be open to different things. Like I said before, entrepreneurs figure out what's working and apply it quickly. So figure out what's working. Also, the roofing industry has changed a little bit. Let's talk about the COVID. Okay, COVID, I don't care what anybody says, COVID messed people up. I know people that lost 20, 30, $40 million in projects in CapEx. I lost $1 million CapEx project from multifamily investors that I've been working on for 6 months and we're ready to do in Q1 of 2021, and then COVID hit around March. They didn't do that. So what happened? Don't sleep on repairs. I've been every single rainstorm, I'm repairing buildings. Now, am I writing a few $1 million? No, I'm not. But I'm writing good profit margin, cash flowing repairs. And I'm writing lots of them. I probably wrote 6 figures in repairs in the last several months alone, still going on with it. So you got to adapt to the change that's going on. CapEx, okay? Lots of people lost CapEx. I have a dear friend of mine who lost over 10 million in CapEx projects alone, one individual organization. Well, so what do? Well, now these guys are looking at doing their CapExes now, but they're coming from a different point. Before with layovers, replacements. Now They're looking at restorations and enveloping buildings because they can do it for a third of the cost and get the same warranty duration, which that's what happens to fall into my niche. So now I'm targeting these guys that want it because they still have to do stuff on these buildings. And what's going on? We got to work with what they have going on. Okay. First, the government last year, let's talk about multifamily. They stimulate the economy, right? So everybody's paying the rent. So nobody wants to buy new freaking B or C class properties because everybody's paying their freaking rent. And they're like, well, we'll see what happens when the money runs out and they keep paying their rent. Well, now we're going to stimulate the economy again. So they haven't really seen for their business model what happens when the government stops giving money. They may stop paying rent. So they're not wanting to do a lot of things, but they have to make repairs to all those roofs. So I jumped on the repair train and been doing lots of them. Now, the flip side of that coin is they are going to, in like Q2, Q3 of the 2021, start to do that CapEx stuff. But now they're going to go to a restoration aspect because it's going to be obviously more economical for them. And that's where I come into play. So I'm just adapt myself for change. You got to be moldable. You got to be pliable. But like I said from the beginning, your life is bigger than this moment. You can't let that shit break you. It's just, you can't. If you got that kind of mentality, then go get a job that's freaking hourly or salary. Go home at 5 o'clock each day and hang out. I mean, that's all you can really do.
Man, I'll tell you one thing I can't stand. I tell this to my own company. Don't give me the bullshit about the politics of business. I hate people who use that as an excuse. I'll give you an example here, John. What I say is this. Let's just say you're pissed off with the way the election went. I got a few friends that are. If you believe that, and you believe that, hey, listen, this world is going in the tanker right now because of some presidential election, and there's going to be less money to go around, then in my opinion, it's shifting your mind, shifting your focus and saying, I've got to go more all in right now than I have before if there's going to be less that is going to be to go around. Now, if you believe that things are on the turn and we're going to turn this thing around now is the time to get yours because you believe that, hey, it's going to be more plentiful than ever and there's going to be more to go around. You should be succeeding during these times. I think it comes down to mindset that some individuals have when they see an election result or they look at the politics and they go, well, I'm not succeeding because look at the climate that I'm trying to grow my business in. Don't fall into that trap of entitlement. Grow your business. And as you just said, people are adapting right now, the people that you're working with. And if you're a contractor out there and you're not adapting, you're having trouble with it, reach out to someone like Jonathan. He's the one who is helping people adapt to the new environment that we're in right now, post-COVID, post-election, depending on where the money flow is within this country. Those are the things you need to be doing if you want to step up your company to another level. You can't keep on doing the same shit you've always done.
Yeah, I agree.
So let me talk about this, man. Where do you see the industry going right now? I kind of feel like blue collar work, maybe we could talk about roofing, is a little behind in the technology area. But I see more sales reps. I see more businesses getting involved in the online marketing realm. Do you see that trend continuing? Where do you see the industry going over the next year and a few years in the future?
The industry, I think, in my opinion, that this industry is going to continue doing well. I saw a lot of companies that did well during the COVID and had some record numbers. Just doing, like you're saying, we were talking about being moldable, being pliable, making change and growing in this type of environment. I think we're going to see a lot more virtual stuff. It's already been going more virtual than it has anything. I mean, Roofing Contractor Magazine went from a paper magazine to virtual. Podcasts going all over the place. American Contractor Show did the American Contractor Summit in Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago. I did some keynote there, completely virtual conference. I mean, it is definitely going a lot more virtual, but we're also roofers and we ain't scared of shit. So we're still going to keep going to conferences, not wearing masks, shaking hands, kissing babies, and doing our thing. That's what I do a lot of dumb shit. So that's just who we are as an industry. They're not going to, the last thing you're going to do is tell several thousand roofers in one free building what the fuck they're going to do. It's like they're gonna do whatever they want. Excuse my language, but that's what
I love it, man.
Yeah, so I think we're going to continue doing face-to-face as well in our specific industry. We had the SRC Summit last weekend. It was a blast. There was a lot of people. But what I have noticed is people are hungry. This is the hungriest I've seen our industry. Cooped up and haven't been able to do stuff. And they get to the face-to-face stuff and they're talking to people and they're making deals and they're talking to vendors and they're trying stuff out. And people that are interacting on the face-to-face level are doing business. Virtual people are doing business as well, but people are hungry right now. And you know how roofing works. We have a year and roofers, around Thanksgiving, they stop working, and then they realize about January 8th, shit, I'm some money again. Maybe I should work because it's like starting over a new year. Oh shit! All right, I got to work. And then all of a sudden, start working again. So we do that all the time. That's what I saw this year. And I'm human. I started looking at Q1, and I'm looking at the first freaking 5 or 6 days. And I'm like, man, if I'm not getting a phone call, this is a soft ass market. And then June 8th and 10th, you blew my phone up. Everybody wanted everything yesterday. I'm like, where have you guys been drinking for freaking 2 weeks? Like, where do you guys go? That's what they do. That's just what roofing contractors do. So I see virtual. I still see some face-to-face in there. I think that, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, I think there's going to be some leaders that rise up right now. I think we're going to see a change in the overall view of the roofing industry and the people in it. And I think we're going to start to get a better name. I think we're going to see, the thing that I like about this is whenever anybody, a group of people or an individual gets pressed, what comes out of them is who they really are. I think as the economy presses, as tragedy presses, as things go on, we're going to see the roofing industry press, and we're going to see how good we really freaking are. And we're going to see people rise up and do the right thing and help people out and make changes. So I'm excited for that. But that's what I think.
I couldn't agree with you. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I couldn't agree with you more. One thing I think you can't make the mistake of right now, if you're in the industry or just in general, don't make the mistake of not putting in the effort. I think that that's something that, because there may be a transition over to a digital landscape, that people may think, okay, if I just put out these videos, if I just do this, the business is going to come to me. You still got to put in the effort. You still got to make the phone calls. You still got to go out there to the house. You still got to be at your install. You still got to, as you say, give without expectation. That's still got to be there, even if we do transition into more of a digital landscape. I just see that being important to say, that you can't mess up on the effort side of it. You got to keep on giving it 100% each and every day.
Yeah, I agree.
So I was talking with somebody, speaking of COVID, and I want to kind of turn the tables here a little bit to the sales side of the industry. And you obviously interact with a bunch of sales reps when you're at these conferences. They're out there, they're hungry right now. COVID has changed a little bit about that industry. Can you say, I'm trying to think how to phrase this question, because I think that some guys I was talking with a few days, like Roof Hustler, I was talking to a guy named Sean Bryant, and I asked him about how has COVID changed the way that you do sales, like door to door. Have people, not been able to answer the door, they're afraid to let you in? And he corrected me. He's like, man, I love it. He's like, because these people are home. They're home and they're ready for me to knock on the door. And I thought to myself, I was like, that's the difference right there between somebody who's successful and somebody who's always complaining, because they get it. They're using that as an opportunity. They're taking something that other people are looking at as a detriment. They're changing that perspective, adapting, as we say, and then using it to their own benefit. And I'm hoping you can kind of just speak generally to some advice for some sales reps out there that are knocking doors. Maybe they're not producing like they've produced in the past. Can you speak a little bit to the sales side, that door-to-door guy?
Yeah. So I started in the industry as a door knocker. And the thing about the door knocking is being organized and being consistent, using some of the new technology that we have to show who you're knocking, picking the areas that you're knocking. But the whole thing with that is adapting. Like I like what the Roof Hustler said, they're all home. So if you go into the mindset knowing that everybody I need to talk to here, so it's coming up creative, like how do I get in the door? So here's what I would recommend. Okay, like during COVID, I was giving out $200 grocery gift cards and rolls of toilet paper every single day at random. So if I'm a door knocker and I don't want to spend that kind of money, what I would do is I would either go get a bunch of little $10 gas cards, a bunch of $5 Starbucks gift cards, something very inexpensive, and I would have a drone and do contactless and say, hey, ring the doorbell. Like, look, if we can do a roof inspection, I'm gonna give you a $10 gas card. We're gonna do it from a drone. And I would turn my entire inspection report, probably use Company Cam, label everything out or something along those lines, and email them to them. And then have a time that I follow up on each one of those emails, and I would just change my business model. And I would just hammer what I do. I would give them something of value out of the gates to get on top of the roof, not even get on top of the roof, but use the drone, even though I personally like getting on the roof. And then a completely automated inspection report and set up Zoom calls. That's what I would do. I know lots of people that I would just close people on Zoom and use DocuSign. And I spend my days doing that and my nights signing DocuSign doing Zoom calls.
That's a lot. So here, I mean, you just brought up things that, in my opinion, they need to hear. You mentioned earlier, do you do consulting for roofing contractors out there if they are struggling or they want to scale their business?
Yeah, absolutely. We do a lot of that. My next one that's coming up is February 19th. We do full day consulting, couple day consulting. We do individual. We do entire company. We do stuff where we work on company culture, core values, find out who they are, and then build them to help them scale. We do stuff where guys like, just teach me how to sell, teach me about different roofing systems. So I try to vet them and then tailor something that would work directly to them. And then we do stuff like with the Roofers Helping Roofers, where they may have an opportunity. They call me, I fly out there, jump the roof, put on their shirt, show them how I gather my data, build a proposal, give them the comprehensive line item scope of work, help them doctor it to their actual logo, tell them what they should sell it out if it's retail to be aggressive, so we're not just burning time and money. We can procure the contract, help them sign the contract with them and close it for them, and then do a turnkey for them on the install. I lost your audio.
And the content that you put out there. Because what's special when you're doing your consulting is you're not just taking somebody's money, sending them a cookie cutter approach and saying, okay, go out there and do it. You're actually going out there, you're in the meeting room with these people, you're talking to them face to face, you're on the job site, you're truly getting out there and making a difference in the roofing industry by being present for the individuals that you consult with, correct?
I give them me.
Yep.
And then I duplicate myself within their four walls.
I think that's amazing. So with our clients right now, if you're out there and maybe your business is not scaling like you want it to, and you're looking at these different influencers or academies, or there's a lot of good ones, but there's a lot of bad ones out there. You want to work with somebody that's going to be invested in your company. So that's why you call someone like John to say, hey, listen, this is what I'm struggling with. Come out here, give me an analysis of what I'm doing, help my guys out and turn this ship around for me, because you want somebody who has been there. You don't want to use somebody who's a 25-year-old kid who's just going to sell you the 10 best leads you've ever gotten in your life for, $2,000. That's not the way that you're going to scale and grow your business in today's world.
Yeah, I agree.
So help me out with, I want to kind of do a day in the life, man. I just kind of a lighter question here, but, tell me about, do you start your day early, and what's been your recipe for success and being able to grow your personal brand? What does a day look like for you? How do you plan it? How do you all make it happen in a day?
All right, so a day in the life with me. That's so crazy that you brought that up, because they're actually coming to film a full day with me to put together an episode of a day in the life with me, and that just got brought to my attention yesterday. So it's weird that you asked that.
So give us a little preview. What can we expect, man? What do we need to see when you?
So just to be transparent. So for me, I get up early, and before I look at my phone or I do anything, you retain better in the first few minutes of the day than any other time that you're up. So I put something directly inside of me, whether I'm a Christian, so maybe it's Christian motivational thing or the Bible, or maybe it's Les Brown or Tony Robbins or David Goggins. I have a lot of different things.
Love David Goggins.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not a fruit nutter flakes. I'm not some holy roller or anything like that. So I listen to whatever it is, that I mix it up a little bit. Maybe it'll be something like that. Then I may read in my big book for AA, or I may do something like that. And then I'll spend some time meditation or prayer. And then once that stuff is done, then I start my day. And that usually starts with the gym. And then it'll go into answering my phone calls and doing different stuff. Then what I like to do is I like to find out what type of content is everybody going to see today. What are they going to see as far as my stories? What are they going to see as far as my standalone graphics? And what are they going to see as far as my videos? That way I get the idea of what I think would come in, because to be honest with you, what you think is going to work doesn't work, and what you don't think is going to work is going to always work. And I could do the best video ever 2 years ago and think I'm going to get 1,000 views and get 500, and then I could do a plastic monkey called Spoonie Love from Up Above and get 7,000 views and 3 people do roofs with me. So I don't freaking know. So it's like I try to be creative and talk to my media team and see what's going out. And then I look at, what do I need to do in the field? And then when can I make sure that I manage some time for proposals or office work? And then now, as I've gotten a little bit older and paid the dumb tax, I try to make sure that I, don't work into the long hours of the night every single night, and be present with my family for my children and do other things that I need to do for me personally, whether it's go to an AA meeting or, go do some fellowship with somebody else, or maybe just play a game of Madden or just dink around or something like that. But I try to make sure I don't just wear myself out. That's really what a day consists of for me. As far as the branding, man, I just look to be regularly honest and transparent. The thing about me is what you see is what you get.
Yep.
I'm a little rough around the edge. I'm who I say that I am, and I just, what you see is what you get. And I just try to give people who I am. And my big thing, like I said, is I like to duplicate myself within other people. And then here's the bottom line. Business is steal shamelessly. If you see something that works, steal shamelessly. So I give it away and make it easy for you. So it's like steal my stuff, put your twist on it, do what I'm doing, go make money.
Man, I think that you don't, I mean, maybe you do, but you should be given credit for that, because there's not a lot of individuals out there. As we've found some success with My Claims Care and working with contractors and organizations, everybody always seems to have their hand out. Unfortunately, I use that saying that no good deed goes unpunished. And I think that, people like you are helping to change the industry and how we look at it. That here, man, this is the mistakes that I've made in the past. Look, I'm not perfect. I've paid my dues in stupidity. So I'm going to help you prevent you from making those pitfalls. Mm-hmm. And all of us doing that together raises the whole, what is it? The tide raises every ship type deal, whatever. I can't remember the saying. But it raises all ships. And I think that's what we need in the industry. And my team, we watch your videos. We like the content. Because it brings value to our day, not just, maybe not just in sales, but just outlook on life, man. And I hope you continue to bring that value, because it does affect people's life when you give without that expectation, which, you are doing each and every day.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Like I said earlier, it took me a while to figure this out, just because pride and ego, and everybody struggles with. I'm just not that fucking important. but what I like to do, though, is just give away what's been given to me. And the cool thing about that is when you do that, this is a relationship business. Our industry is a relationship business. So it comes down to saying, dance with who brought you. I give all this stuff away. I don't make people sign anything. People are like, oh, you need to get this, you need to get that. Oh, how do you know? And people just do deals with me. I don't even have to try hard. They just call me, hey, I have 100,000 square foot. I have 200,000 square foot. I got an apartment complex of 80 buildings. I got this. Oh, I'll just do it with you, man. Yeah, no problem. It just works for me. And that works for me. And that's the Gary Vee model. And it really works for me. So, yeah. I mean, I like it and I appreciate it. But, I'm just trying to just give back what's been given to me. That's all.
So I think as we're wrapping it up here, what I want to do is what would you tell someone who wants to get involved with you, with your consulting, with your groups? Should they reach out to you via Facebook, email, LinkedIn? What's the best way for someone to reach out to you and to get involved?
So for two things. So the first one, best way to reach out to me is send me a direct message on social media. My media team will get it. Sometimes I check on myself, like I've just been communicating directly to you. But somebody will get back to them, and we'll talk to them and make sure we at least speak with them and see kind of what's going on and see if we're a good fit, or if I'm not, if I can at least leave them with somebody that may be a good fit in their area. I like to give them something. The other thing that I want to leave with everybody is I like to give away, whenever I do a podcast, 4 successful tips on how to be in commercial roofing market and how to sell those roofs. And it comes down to know your client, know your craft, set expectations, and slow down. So if they go to roofershelpingroofers.net, okay, and you go to that, it will take you to a 15-minute video on YouTube. It is absolutely free, and it'll give you a segment on that, and it'll help you with those 4 things that I just talked about.
Roofershelpingroofers.net. Yep. When we put the video up, we'll be sure to put the link below so that any individual can go see that, get these tips, watch the video, learn. Don't have to make the same pitfalls. You can be ahead of the game by listening to everything that Jonathan is doing here. I want to give one final shout out to you. Where do they need to go to vote for you for SVG Awards? Is it just go to the website, and what award is it again, so we can make sure anybody can vote for you?
I appreciate that. It's been an honor to be nominated for that, and I mean, like anybody else, I want to win. So
I know you do, man.
I'd love them to go on you can go to the SVG page or the winthestorm.com, W2S.com. You'll see the nomination. You put in your name, not my name, your name, your company, your email, and your phone number. Then you'll scroll down. I'll ask you, are you going to win the storm? Yes or no. Hopefully you are. If not, we understand. Then once you've done that and you hit submit, it will take you to the nominations, and it will be thumbnail photographs of each nomination. I will be the third one down for Best Marketing Industry Entrepreneur. You'll see my face there. Click that. If they're on there too, I recommend voting for Commercial Contractor of the Year, good friend of mine. There's a lot of amazing guys on there up for awards. And then go all the way down the bottom. You do have to select one for each category and then hit submit. And that helps out quite a bit, and I really appreciate that.
Hey, contractors, if you're out there listening, take 2 minutes, go there, put in your information, vote for Jonathan. The man deserves the award. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the Roofers Den and come in here and speak with me. And I will DM you, and we'll talk about how I can be involved a little bit greater with some of the organizations that you're a part of, because I really believe in the work that you're doing out there, and keep it up, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
Man, best of luck out there, okay? I know you're out west, right?
I'm in Arizona today, but I'll be in Dallas tomorrow.
All right, man. Well, good luck out there. Be safe.
All right. Take care.
Take care, buddy. Thank you.
You too, man.